Hello, one. Welcome back to the channel, and we're back with another episode of Wanpanman, episode 6 of season 2. The tournament has finally started. I believe the last episode we left, where we left off, Saitama was about to begin his round, or he had knocked the guy out, I believe. So we're about to move on to the next round. We learned a lot in terms of some development in, the world as we know it, basically, right? The revelation that there are hero monster associations opposite the hero association, right? Not quite sure how their structure works, but we could assume based on what their agenda was in the last episode, right? If we it was basically if we kill you, does our threat level go up, right? So it operates in a similar way that the Hero Association works. For the Hero Association, the more crimes you solve, it's not so much about killing a villain. The more crimes you solve, the killing a villain does help, and the higher the threat level, the more likely that you will rise to the ranks. But at least from what I gather, it was more about crime, right? With the monsters playing a huge role in that. So for the monsters, a lot of them seem to be concerned about killing the heroes and increasing their threat level. But they did have an agenda. For the most part, they seem to be targeting this executive from the Hero Association. I'm not quite sure whether he's relevant or they just needed anyone from the Hero Association who wasn't a hero themselves, to maybe use as a hostage or something. But we suspect that this is related to the threat that was predicted. We thought it was Boros, but it wasn't Boros. I don't think it's Garo. We've seen a lot in the last episode, to suggest that he does in fact have a conscience. He has a code, right? He faced off against Metal Bat, and I wouldn't say it was really even, but then again, Metal Bat was injured at the start of the episode after fighting the centipede. So Metal Bat held up pretty well for someone who was actually injured. He was about to get a strike in on Garo. Whether or not that would have finished him remains to be seen, but he stopped because his sister entered, and he apparently, being a good big brother, I say repeatedly that Metal Bat reminds me so much of Kurobara from Yu Yu Hakusho. He even has a little sister as well. But he promised never to expose her to violence, even if it's facing someone like Garo. So he stopped, and Garo left, and he just in some way even protected him, because there were some other villains who were going to attack him and his sister, and Garo intervened, right? So there's still hope for him, and as I've said from the very first episode where we're introduced to him, he is eventually going to join Saitama's team. But there is going to be some showdown before that happens. I don't believe it. I'm not even sure it will be against Saitama at this point, given where he is now at the tournament. I think just fighting to get money. So I believe, Silverfang will and Bomb will be the one. Bang and Bomb will be the ones to face off against him. I don't know. I suspect there will be some turning point for him where he realizes the error of his ways, but I don't know whether it would be in that fight, or when the great threat arrives, he will find himself fighting alongside the heroes and find some purpose out of that battle, right? So excited to see what this episode will bring. I imagine that he will be going after other targets. He attacked 2 A-class heroes, but when it comes to the S-class, he's not necessarily. I said it before in the previous episode, that while Garo has shown that he's strong, he's not the strongest that I've seen, and that's not counting Saitama, right? I could be wrong, but I don't see him being able to take on multiple S-classes, maybe one at a time, and that seems to be his plan. So I'm not sure why the Hero Association doesn't just send as a couple of S-class heroes after him, although the S-class heroes don't necessarily seem to care much about, they act on their own. But in this case, they are being hunted, so I would think that maybe that would change things a bit, but yeah, who knows. Alright, so I'm excited to get started. Let's check it out. punch and he's out. Not impressed. He'll do hope. I don't know. I mean, he knocks him out in one hit. How easily he was able to take him out. I'd imagine that this guy's at least at the upper levels of A or even S rank. Yeah, several episodes to be complete. At least not so far. Did not go very well. Is everyone even surprised when monsters appear anymore? It seems like I don't let heroes to go out and help.
確かにしかし件数が多すぎるな CC この町にも発生している先生に伝えるべきか直ちに排除するなんで全然弱くねえじゃねえだが現実を見るとうんざりするぞトップヒーローの戦場はどこもかしこも怪物だらけでなすげえ一撃だ助かった今 CC にいる スタジアムの近くだ状況は多数の方でも怪人が向こうにも化け物がいます一匹分けした残り4体の場所よしガートリン選手の超高速連打が炸裂ハムキツ選手ついにダウン立てないこの強いジョゼ選手メンタイ選手を圧倒ロケットスタンド耐えるまで激痛に苦しむか選べ続いてのカードはギガプロレスジャクメン選手対元バンク先生の2番弟子だぞ結構でかいないやいや俺のお前の顔面ちょうだい
Face.
顔も剥ぎ取っていい
Get your own face.
どうよ俺の包丁さばきわざと硬いやあっという間に片付けていく S 級のジェノス鬼気迫る強さですね喋れるか戦闘中
Legit thought that was a cockroach.
ゴキブリというか虫の怪人には何かと因縁がある最後の一匹こいつここでジャクメン選手タップアウト苦虫選手見事な締め技
He actually won.
そしてお互いを称え合っています連敗の勇姿
No,
を
I didn't.
トイレ行ってたこの野郎おいお前の次の対戦相手
It's a guy who is going to protect everyone from big bad monsters.
何人ものファイターを血祭りに上げてきた
Darkness, hell
恐るべ
killer
き闇
ability.
地獄殺人俺は覚悟の足りない奴らに教えてやってるだけだいいか武道家が拳を交えることそれはスポーツ
I mean, I would want for him to actually be strong though, to at least put up a fight against Saitama. I doubt it, but it would be nice.
こういうの初めてなんだあんたの武術を体験させてくれいいだろうお望み通りほど立つことはできん次にどう
I'm thinking that it literally actually teach me.
お前の頭蓋骨は割れこの世と頭触んなよ
Touch the wig, okay?
勝負ありドクタータンクを早くなんという大番狂わせだ優勝候補の俺もそれで行くぞ各地で発生した怪人災害について何も言えない
Mr. Nothing. Yeah, that makes sense. Was with Garo earlier?
おいおいしっかりしろいったナリン騎士の息子ワガンマ君が怪人にさらわれたなんだと何が目的でわからん
These are shareholders for the Hero Association.
街に出ている A 級以上のヒーローに招集をかけろ遺体で発見されました
Wasn't killing, he really is strong. It's a kill.
ただ速いだけではない姿
for this one because he got his ass kicked last time.
目からレーザービームでも出すのかい本当を上回る分野の存在については受け入れなければ成長することはできないまさか殺虫スプレーなんてことはないだろうな
At least.
たとえ素早い忍者が襲ってきて瞬殺できるように
Is
用
that
意して
coming from his body?
しかしこれを使えば
Could have been a nice Easter egg if they used a design from that anime with alien cockroaches that invade easily. Okay, seems to be something different.
ちょっとかわいい残念だけどこの子たちはもう私の奴隷
Attack her.
だったらあんたもこのド S 様の奴隷
Does it work on women though?
この人数相手になかなかやるじゃないでもいつまでしのげるかしら
That's so wrong.
聞いた聞いたこれでもう私の言いなりなん
These monsters seems to be very well
って
informed.
ことはあんたを餌にすれば竜巻を誘い出せるってことじゃない私の無知で自我を失わないなんて自意識の強さ妹を呼ぶ餌にしようと思ったけどもういいわ今すぐ撃ち殺すだよね私がダメージを負ったことを察知され
I guess that's what Genos. She said she could sense when she takes damage, but I didn't think that they had a close relationship based on how she spoke about it. I figured they didn't like.
一旦ここを離れた方が出たお姉ちゃんあんたたち私の逃げる時間を稼ぐな
Run away, I thought you wanted her.
彼らは味方って言ったのに
こんなん攻撃のうち入らないわよ
いや十分
あとこういうのは味方じゃなくて無駄話してる場合じゃないわね他にも怪人がいるみたいだしそいつらにも伝えておいて
Because she calls her big sister, but she's clearly not older than she is. I know it's a common anime trope though, so that could be it.
そこまでだこの永久ヒーロー邪光剣スネックが来たからには市民に指一本触れさせんのヒーローなのだという自負が精神を充実させたしかし
So these guys all lost the monster at some point in season.
現実がプロヒーローは本当に必要なのだろうか最近
They
では
lost their resolve, I guess.
もしとも少なくともこの男はいちいち俺が守ってやる必要などないようだ
さっきのマックス君の方が痛くてさ永久ヒーローって高級取りなんだろこのレベルでできるなら案外割のいい仕事かも
It's like one of those people in, for university or something who never study but somehow ace the exam at the end.
あんたこそなんでヒーローなんかやってんの
Maintain your composure, he's just trying to piss you off. Don't fall for it.
最近は強い怪人が残るし怪人がいようがいまいが弱い生き物は淘汰されていくそれが自然の断りだ
だったらここは俺たちが食い止める屋上へ避難を
それでもどうせ俺たちは生き残る
まあいい誰が生き残るだと
Where is Pretty Prisoner? In the bathroom again.
どうだゲロゲロ怪人たち
ヒーロー協会は
This is the
豪傑は何をしている
This is the one leading them to a tornado.
しかもこちらにはまだオロチ
King
さん
Orochi. Alright, so there we have it, episode 6. The focal point of this episode seemed to be more around the tournament itself. At the end there, we got our introduction to the head of the Monster Association, King Orochi. Orochi, of course, having appeared in numerous anime. A lot of people most likely remember from Naruto Orochimaru, where the name is derived from, which I think means snake or something to that effect. So it's we don't know a whole lot about him just yet, what his agenda is, but they did reveal that the son that was captured, his father is one of the shareholders for in Monster Association, who provides capital to keep them running and provides funding for them, right? So that suggests that, and I said it before when the season started, that the anime seems to be going in a different direction, where it's not so much more about physical strength anymore, but also techniques and making strategic decisions, right? The monsters seem to be adapting in the very same way, and that here they're attempting to target specific. They're attempting to disable the Hero Association by removing removing funding, or the persons who provide funding for the Hero Association, which would cripple them in some way, right? Because and they spoke about money earlier on in the tournament itself, and a number of the participants who aren't heroes because they don't subscribe to this whole hero agenda where they need to go out and save people. They're fighting either for strength to prove that they're the strongest, or they're fighting for money, which both are fair, So in that, this the Monster Association seems to be trying to cripple the Hero Association by removing persons of influence who can fund them, because they do need the money to actually pay heroes. A lot of times I totally forget that that the heroes in this world are not they're not being heroes for free. They actually have to be paid. It's a job, right? Similar to My Hero Academia, although I'm not sure if in My Hero Academia there's a salary, although I would think there is. I mean, they have to live somehow, right? Yeah, I mean even All Might had to get a job at the academy, UA. So I think it's very similar. So I just don't know whether it's a case where they just only want to cripple the Hero Association, or they want funding for themselves, which would be very weird. A monster association, but it's not unlikely. This is One Punch Man after all. This anything strange and bizarre is just another day in One Punch Man. So, very real possibility that could happen. I doubt it though. I think it's more along the lines of them trying to cripple the Hero Association by taking away funding and persons to support them, and eventually, I mean, having the public lose confidence in the hero's ability to do their job. Again, I keep drawing parallels between this and My Hero Academia because they both have, Hero Association or Hero Organization. They're similar in a lot of ways there, right? And if the public starts to lose confidence in the heroes' ability to protect them, heroes have no motivation to fight, and then it just all falls apart. So that seems to be the aim for the Monster Association here, at least as far as we can tell so far. Saitama he had one match, still pretending to be Chiranko. So he had his fight, which didn't last very long. I don't know. I guess we won't see that until the end of the tournament, and I don't know if this is the anime's way of keeping Saitama out of the way. It may very well have gone the same in the manga. Keeping Saitama busy, so we don't focus on him too much, because again, as the name suggests, One Punch Man, so they've given him something to do, right, while we focus on the events going on over here. So he might be in that tournament for quite a bit, so I thought we would, but I don't think we're going to be getting much of Saitama for the next maybe 2 or 3 episodes. But hopefully he gets back in the ring pretty soon. But he won his match pretty easily. I imagine he will come against the favorites to win within the next 2 episodes, unless we do this whole deep Dragon Ball Z thing where the matches take forever, which I haven't seen so far. So if you follow the same trajectory, we should be there within another episode or 2, because I would really want to see that showdown. This completely capable fighter who doesn't feel he needs to use his abilities to save people just for his own personal gain, and see how that matches up against Saitama, who is of the opposite belief, and truly wants to actually save people. Still wants some of the fame that comes with it, but for the most part, it's to save people. Then we got Blizzard coming against fighting against one of the villains there. I know Genos tried to do it on his own. Didn't go so well. But I don't. He got his ass kicked by a cockroach. This is the second time he's been dealt a bad hand by an insect. Right, in season 1 it was a mosquito, who he held his own against initially, and then everything just went south, and he got his arms ripped off, and yeah, not good. But we got this one's noticeably different. He learned from that battle. He has stronger armor now. He's a lot stronger than he was in season 1, and he actually used he was thinking strategically and not just using raw power to overpower his opponent. And he used some adhesive on the ground. I'm not sure if it was coming out of his body or something that he had when he threw it or something like that. I'm gonna assume that it came out of his body somehow, and he used that to slow the guy down so he could have enough time to kill him. And it seemed as though he was saving that for Speed of Sound Sonic, who has proven that he's unbeatable when it comes to speed, right? I still think, whereas Sonic is concerned, he's fast, but as we saw in his fight against the Undersea King, he's fast, but he's not very strong. So it's I don't know. I consider Genos to be pretty strong. Although to be honest, I could be wrong. In terms of his endurance, I would want to say he's very strong in terms of his endurance and durability, because he's a cyborg. But at the same time, you've seen him get shred to bits numerous times between last season and this one. He's gotten his fair share of his body being torn apart. So maybe not, right? The Deep Sea King was a whole other level. So maybe he could withstand Speed of Sound Sonic's attacks a lot easier, right? But he obviously knows that he can't match him in terms of speed, at least not yet. Who knows, later on the doctor could develop something else for him, or he could find some other parts he could incorporate into his body to make him faster. So for now, he's thinking with his head, alright, thinking strategically, alright, I can use other means to slow him down if I can't match his speed. And we got the bit with Blizzard and Tornado coming to save her. Blizzard fighting basically a dominatrix, right? And her ability doesn't seem to work on Blizzard, which I'm not sure why she think it would work. I initially just right off the bat said it wouldn't, because in most, again, that doesn't mean it has to be this way, but in most anime games, whatever the case might be, wherever there is some spell that's being used to manipulate the opposite sex, it usually doesn't work on the same sex. But they said it's her resolve why it didn't work here. I don't know about that. And of course her sister came in to save her. Her elder sister, which she keeps saying, which she's half your size. I'm not sure, unless Blizzard had a growth spurt or something, she should be the oldest one. But again, I've seen this numerous times in anime before. It's a common anime trope, so I just go along with it. But we got to see Tornado demonstrates her her abilities again, and why she is number 2. She's number 2 in S class. And it's something we haven't seen before. She's shown last season that she was very capable. But the anime seems to now be making some distinction between what is strength and what is a technique or ability, right? A similar case with Lightning Max in his match. Again, the first time I was introduced to him, he was using his lightning, but in this, he was using pure just physical attributes to get by in the match, and he lost, of course. But I wonder how strong Tornado really is. I mean, not everyone is a martial artist, right? And I think that's the point of the whole point of the tournament, that not everyone is a martial artist. Even though you're a hero, you're not necessarily a martial artist. And she's not a martial artist, but she's still strong. Her psychic abilities are unmatched, and so I get that much, right? What happens if you're not able to use that? I don't see them making changes like that to these characters. And initially, I was wondering whether or not that was what they were going to do with Saitama, but I doubt it very much. So I don't see them changing the character to that extent. Even though in his match he was like, "Show me your technique." That with Saitama, I think he got to his limits a long time ago, and his limit is arguably somewhat limitless in the anime, right? So I don't see him learning a whole lot more, right? So in the interim, in the time being, I'm enjoying all the other characters that we're being introduced to, and not focusing as much as on Saitama. We did that for an entire season last in season 1. So here we seem to be shifting gears, learning a lot more about martial arts, about the other factions in the Hero Association, the other associations in the world, the Monster Association, learning about the different motives that drive these people. Not all of them want to be heroes, but they're strong regardless. Some want power, some want money, and like Garo, some just want to be monsters, right? So it's an interesting dynamic to introduce at this point. So I'm very interested to see where they take it. Alright, that is it. Be sure to post on the comments, let me know what your thoughts are on this episode. And if you have any knowledge about the Monster Association, someone mentioned to me before that there were hints about them in season 1, but I must have missed that. So be sure to post on the comments, let me know whatever you can without any spoilers, of course. Hit like or subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.